If you're wondering what kinds of emails you should send to your email list during a live launch campaign, whether it's for a digital course, whether it's for a digital product or a service or a live program or some sort of other paid offer that you are either opening up spots to, running a discount on, launching, like what does that look like to run a live campaign for a live launch? So this could be for something you're launching for the very first time or something that you are essentially relaunching again that is a paid offer you have already created or services that you already run, right? So we're going to dive into that and the advanced email marketing strategies that I use for my business and that I teach to my students when it comes to email marketing for your live campaigns. And real quick, if you actually want the entire plan for making a powerful email marketing plan for your business, I'd love to invite you to my free email class. It's brand new and it's all about how to create a very powerful plan to market yourself via email marketing and to make income in your business. So if you're interested in that, the link will be right below this video. Okay, so before we dive into like the type of emails that you'll want to send to your list during a live launch and like what goes into that, the first thing you really need to do is to determine your strategy. Are you going to have a 5-day sale period? Is it going to be a bonus during a certain time? Are you opening and closing spots? Is there going to be a live webinar or a challenge involved with this launch, right? So determining what that strategy is going to look like will really determine what kind of emails you're going to send and how you really want to structure your emails. Is there going to be a pre-sale where someone can get on a wait list and get access before everybody else? Or maybe you have a waitlist strategy, especially if you have services where they're getting access to the paid offer first before it goes out to your entire email list. So just thinking about that first and what your strategy is going to be and as far as like what the layout is going to be and the outline of your launch. So for example, like when I am opening spots to a live program, I typically am doing a pre-sale or an early bird bonus before it goes out to the public. So for example, some people can sign up for a waitlist for my passive income mini mind and apply first and by being on that waitlist because spots open to the waitlist first before they go out to the entire email list. And even when it goes out to the entire email list, I have a strategy with that where within the first 5 days, there is an early bird fast action bonus where if someone joins like within those first 5 days or applies in those first 5 days, to get an additional bonus that other members aren't going to get who apply after that time frame. On the flip side, like when I'm launching an online course, for example, we're doing something more along the lines of on a Thursday or Friday hosting a live webinar to basically pre-launch that course to basically the people who are our like inner core group of people because they're signing up for that live webinar and joining. We don't do a lot of paid advertising or anything like that on a consistent basis. So it really is like our people who are just very interested in learning more from us. And so we will create that live webinar. People can join that usually the Thursday or Friday before we launch something. We always like to launch things on a Monday. It's just how I prefer to do things. And then on Monday, it launches to the entire public email list. So there's really a lot of strategies that you can do. And it really just depends on like what kind of product you are launching or what kind of offer you're launching. Is it a service? Is it a program? Is it maybe a digital product? Like even for lower ticket offers, you're probably going to have a shorter launch period than higher ticket offers. So just thinking about that sort of thing too. Email type number 1 that I wanted to talk about is to share your humble brags and your journey. So whenever you're thinking about emails you want to send out, what's going to be effective to seeing sales, something that can be really effective is simply sharing your own journey as it relates to whatever you're offering, especially if that makes sense. So one thing that I hear a lot though is that people are very hesitant to share numbers like revenue or number of clients booked or different things like that because it feels like you're coming across as bragging and you don't want people to judge you. And first of all, I will just say like even if you aren't sharing this, people are going to judge you anyway. So like might as well do it in a way that is going to actually grow your business, right? But basically like thinking about when you are sharing about different emails, this can even be incorporated into other emails, but have at least one email where you are simply outlining like, hey, here is my transformation, here's my journey, here's where I've been, here's where I am now, here's some of the wins I've experienced along the way. Essentially sharing like, why should they trust you over someone else who has a very similar offer? And I think when done right, this really doesn't come across as bragging. It comes across as sharing like, this is what's possible and I want to make this possible for you. And so bringing them along on that is really going to help to accomplish that by sharing a little bit more of those tangible wins. And you you can do this in a way that is comfortable for you, right? And obviously this isn't required. You don't have to share anything if you don't want to. Like for example, if you're sharing revenue numbers, like instead of sharing like, I made like $363,000 last year, like you could share something like, I have a multi-six-figure business with, you know, X profit margin or something along those lines. Or maybe it's something like, you know, when I started my service-based business, I booked 10 clients within the first month of opening, and like, here's how I did that. And now I'm going to show you how to do that too. Or maybe it's something like health related. You're like, I went from feeling all these symptoms to these symptoms in 6 months, and I'm going to take you on a live program to show exactly how to do that too. So there's a lot of ways you can incorporate this, but I will say that sharing your journey where you've been, whether it's numbers wise and you're willing to share some of those numbers, or maybe it's something just that you felt, that you've experienced, can be really powerful, especially for driver buyers. So not only does it just show people what's possible and allow them to see that transformation for themselves, but when we're thinking about the different buyer types and speaking to different buyer types, driver buyers love and really need this type of selling. They want to hear your basically humble brags of your journey and the things that you have done. So just think about when it comes to either having one email that's really focused around this, or even just including some of these things in your email marketing is really, really important. Email type number 2 to send during your live launch campaign is to share the solution that your offer provides. I'm a huge fan of really painting the picture of transformation in your email marketing and leaning more into like, what are the outcomes and solutions that someone will experience as a result of being a part of your program, being a part of your services, maybe buying your digital product or your online course, instead of focusing so much on pain points and the negative outcomes over and over and over again. I just think, especially when we think about like ethical marketing, right? I'm just not a fan of like sitting here and telling people like what they're terrible at or the horrible feelings that they're experiencing over and over again. Will I lead an email with that? Yeah, like sometimes I will open up an email with like, are you feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, you know, and then all the other things maybe from a feedback survey that I had for my audience, basically saying like, are you feeling these ways? Well, now here is the solution and the outcome you can experience and not feel that way anymore. But am I going to make my entire email about those negative things that they want to avoid in order to make a sale? I personally like to focus more on the positive outcomes that they'll experience by joining my paid offer instead of always focusing on what they're going to experience as a result of not joining. I'm not saying that you absolutely like that you can't do that, but just for me, I like to focus more on the solution. So the email type number 2 is really thinking about how can you share the solution your offer provides? Like, what's the transformation they're going to experience by joining your paid offer, whether it's booking you for your services, whether it is buying your digital product, your physical product, whatever that is. Share that solution with your buyer, right? And share that with them in a genuine way and help them to see like where could they go and what could they experience if they decide to buy. Email type number 3 is to share the nitty-gritty logistics of what's in your paid offer. This is very, very, very important, especially for analytical buyers. Those are the type of buyers that they're gonna read like how many modules and how many lessons are in this course. They want to know like, is it an online course? Is it a live program? How long do I get access? Like all those nitty-gritty FAQs that are in the back of their minds, like they want those answers. And so have an email focused around literally just listing out those answers. I think that's really important for those type of buyers who want to know like everything that they're getting into before they purchase, and basically taking what would be like 2 on your sales page as far as like you're obviously going to include like everything that's in the course and the format and all of that. Take those things and put it into an email, right? So I think I just said course, but whether it's a course or any other sort of paid offer, just outline the very like nitty-gritty logistical details of what is inside your paid offer. Again, all buyers are going to appreciate this, but especially those analytical buyers, it's going to really help them to decide and make a decision to purchase or not. So this could look like, what's the format of the offer? Is it an online course, a live program, a downloadable template? Is it paid services, right? Some of this should be obvious from your marketing and your messaging, but some of it won't. And you'll need to basically explain like what that is. Like, do they get recordings if there's any live calls? All of those things that they're thinking about. Do they get to ask any questions? Is there any one-on-one support, right? And typically if there's more one-on-one support, it's gonna be a higher ticket offer. What are the pricing details? When does the pricing like discount end? If there is, are there any bonuses? Or how long is it? How long does this program last? If it is a program, right? All of those details are things that they're going to want to know. Email type number number 4 is the final reminder emails. So the 3 emails I mentioned up until this point, those are emails you'll typically want to send throughout the duration of your live launch. So typically your first email is obviously just going to be like an announcement that it's open, a little recap of what it is. And then the emails I shared with you in this video so far are ones that you could send pretty much anytime during a live launch, right? To be nurturing and to be guiding them to purchase. This last email type or the 4th email type, is the final reminder email. So basically this is making sure you're sending emails right before something ends, right? Believe it or not, anytime you run a live launch, most of your sales are probably gonna come in the final 24 hours. I know it sounds crazy, but that has rang so true for my business. We've even seen as high as 50% of our launch sales came from that final day alone. It's absolutely insane. Sometimes even in those final 3 hours. And so I always like to make sure on the final day, depending on what it is, if it's a higher ticket offer or, a more intense program or something we're really trying to push, we'll send as many as 3 emails in that final day. But if it's a lower ticket offer, typically we'll send our typical email in the morning. Say it's a launch that ends on a Friday at midnight. We'll send an email in the morning, and then we're sending at least 1 more email that day, usually around 2 or 3 hours before the launch actually ends. It's a very short and sweet, hey, this launch literally ends in 3 hours, or this discount or the services close, or whatever it is. It is literally your last chance. You're not going to see another email from me about this. And if you're interested, now is the time to join. So that is the 4th type of email that I recommend including in your live launch, because truly so many sales come in on those final hours. It's so funny because it rings so true so often. And really a launch isn't like this during launch week as far as sales go. It's more it starts up here and then dips way down and then dips way back up at the end. And so you're going to see a lot of those sales on the last day. And so really lean into that by sending an extra email to remind those who are putting it off during the week to make a purchasing decision. Email type number 5. I just did the 4 sign for 5. Email type number 5 to consider during your launch strategy is to consider what your launch strategy is and lean into that. And when I say lean into it, you're probably going to send an extra email or 2 at the very least for a specific part of your launch strategy. So let me share what I mean. So for example, maybe you are deciding to do a pre-sale strategy. So essentially that means that you are growing a wait list for your paid offer by, someone can join the wait list and then they can get it on pre-sale. So before you share it to the public. Wow, I just totally lost my train of thought. So, okay, so you're doing a pre-sale. So say it's a 48-hour pre-sale. And when they, can buy during that pre-sale, you're probably going to send a lot of emails during that pre-sale, more than you typically would on a normal launch day. So for example, we typically send 1 email a day for a 5-day launch. And on that last day, we'll send 2, maybe 3 emails of good reminders that it's ending. In a similar way though, if we were doing a pre-sale strategy, you're probably going to front load your emails a little bit more and send more during your pre-sale. So maybe 2 on the first day of launch and then 2 more on the second day, that final 24 hours before your pre-sale ends, to really drive people to purchase during the pre-sale. And then, 1 email a day for the rest of your launch. I actually used this strategy when we launched a live masterclass called Webinars That Sell. And we saw most of our sales come in during that pre-sale period and really leaned into email marketing with that and send a couple more emails than we normally would during a normal launch day, right? So think about how your different strategies and leaning into those different parts of the strategy where you're probably going to see most of your sales. For example, maybe you have a bonus, right? Maybe you're doing an fast action bonus on the first 3 days of your launch. So I used this strategy when I was promoting my passive income mini minds, like I mentioned earlier. So during it was actually a 5-day fast action bonus because it's a pretty high ticket program. So I want to give people time to decide if they want to apply. And we saw the most applications come in during that first 5 days, right? And we had, I think at least half of our members joined during that first 5 days, even though the mini mind didn't start for another 3 or 4 weeks after that. So we still saw applications come in after that as I promoted it once or twice a week via Instagram stories or via emails we would share about it. But during those first 5 days, that's where I was almost going really hard with a live launch in a sense. And then even though people could still apply after that, I was really driving home the fast action bonus awareness in that first 5 days and sending more emails during that time. So for example, when I am launching an online course, I typically am doing a live webinar strategy when I'm doing a course launch. And so I know, like, based on my experience, but also just industry knowledge, like, you're typically going to convert the best inside of a live webinar. So when it comes to my email strategy, like if I was considering sending either more emails during the public launch week the following week, or if I wanted to send more emails about my live webinar and driving conversions and signups for my webinar, I'm going to go the webinar route because I know that's where I'm going to see probably, like, in the past, we've seen as much as like over half of our launch week sales come from the webinar and the webinar replay because that converts really, really high for us. So like I am leaning more into that time period and sending more emails during that time period about my live webinar versus wanting to send more emails during launch week. And I've even tested this before. There was one launch specifically, I sent like 3 extra emails during launch week to my public list. So I sent like 2 on Monday, 1 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, 1 on Thursday, and 3 on Friday. And we got some feedback that it was a little bit much and it was just a lot of emails for us to create and it didn't really like land in more conversions. And so for me, I would rather get more people into that live webinar, right? And also it feels a little bit more like organic marketing in a sense because you're really just reminding them and encouraging them to sign up for something for free that you know is going to convert on the back end versus constantly pitching them to join your paid offer, right? Which is totally fine, obviously, to be selling. Like email was created to sell. We want to be selling, but just keeping that in mind. And I will just lean more into like sending more emails for my live webinar and reminding people to register for the webinar, which if you haven't already joined our free email class all about how to build a powerful email marketing plan for your business to make income, the link is right below this video. I would love to invite you to jump into that. If you liked what you heard in this video today, we dive even deeper into some of these topics and ways you could actually make money via email marketing. And webinar replays and live webinars is a part of my strategy, but there are so many other things that go into making sales, whether it's on autopilot or even just in the way that you run live campaigns, no matter what kind of paid offer you have. So whether you have physical products, digital products, online courses, paid services, maybe you have a membership that opens and closes, like no matter what it is, like this is going to be so helpful for you. So I'm really excited for you to join and to watch my free email class. The link is right below in the description. And also, if you haven't already, be sure to follow us over on Instagram at Stephanie Case Education. We post on there daily with extra business advice, and you can follow us a little more closely than you can here on YouTube. And I will see you guys in the next week's video on Tuesday. Bye guys.